Hi Cottagers, welcome back to my channel. I'm Maddie Sanderson, and today I am going to be doing my May TBR. Here's the thing, I had actually already done this. Last month I needed to kind of save some time because I knew that I was going to be busy, so I went ahead and did my April, my May, and my June TBRs. But the problem is that I had my camera in a wrong setting, and so I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it on other videos that I lost a lot of footage, and one of those happens to be my entire May TBR. And I do not remember what the prompts were. I don't remember like all the stuff that went into it. And I also had my husband picking my TBR, and it's just not gonna work. I just can't make it work. So this month it ends up being okay because I have a massive TBR for this month. We're still a couple of days away from the beginning of May, so I have not finished all of my reading for April, but I have read, I want to say, I believe I'm on track for 25 books maybe, but it's also because I am finishing up a readathon with another YouTuber, and so that kind of helped push me. And then I was reading some smaller books just because I've been really interested in them, so I went ahead and read those this month as well, and that's gonna be on another video, so it doesn't really matter. All that to say though, I did have several DNFs this month, and I was kind of distraught by that because I am not someone who enjoys DNFing a book, but I also don't want to waste the time that I have on stuff, and I'm realizing that I am very much a mood reader in this moment. So I thought this month, instead of doing my TBR jar, I am just going to base it off of the 3 different readathons that I am doing this month. One readathon is the Booktacular readathon, and that is like spooky, haunting, middle grade books, and that is just, it actually starts on the 29th of April, and then it goes through, I believe it was May 5th. So it's technically starting in April, but it ends in May, so I'm going to count it as a May TBR. Then I have Escape the Readathon, which is the month long, and that is going to be a fun one, but it's also a bit of a more in-depth readathon than just the Booktacular. And then lastly, we have my readathon, which is the Mystery and Mayhem readathon, happening the very end of May. If you want more information on that one, check the card up at the top, and it'll take you to the videos that will explain everything for that. We would love for you to join us, and some of these books are going to pertain to that. Because I'm doing these 3 different TBRs, I have different topics that each of them are requiring of us, so that's kind of how I'm picking my TBR. And it is very much, I read the prompt and this is what I'm most drawn to, or it's the book that pops into my head first. So I feel like that'll kind of help me really want to get through these books because I actually desire to read these books. Like, I'm trying to make them work for the prompts, some of them, that way I can actually get to them. I do not have every book here that I'm going to need because I also have several book clubs that I'm doing and have a best friend read, but we haven't chosen our book yet. We just know it's going to be a book that is about growing our marriage with our husbands and growing our faith in the Lord at the same time. So we know that it's gonna be that, but I don't know what it is yet. And then my brother and I are also going to read a book, and it usually has to do with Bible history, or it has to do with a study of scripture or a study of one of the Puritans or anything along those lines. So we still haven't decided that yet either. So I have 2 books that we already know of, and then my third one is I have a ladies Christian book club that I am in, and they have not picked their book for the month either, and I thought that we would by now, but we don't. So that is 3 books that I do not know that I'm going to be reading, but those will be added to the list. Then for my other, let's go ahead and talk about the 2 other book clubs. One of them is for a women's book club that is local to me, and they are doing Never Whistle at Night, so I will have to get a copy of that one. And then one of my friends who is going to also be helping with my readathon, Sam, she is from A Spark of Sam, and she has the cutest little book club. It is called Tales of Starlight Book Club. they are going to be reading Lightlark. And as soon as I saw that they were posting this, I was like, okay girl, I am going to join because I have been dying to read this. I've had this for several months now and I really want to read it, but I just haven't had a time or a reason to read it yet. So I'm really excited to finally have this one included. So if you guys want to join, make sure you go follow A Spark of Sam, which even if you don't want to join, make sure you go follow her because she is such a delightful little person. I love her so much. Now, let's get into the first TBR that I'm doing, which is the Booktacular, and that is all spooky, haunting, middle grade books. The first prompt for Booktacular is something with plants on the cover, and so I'm going to go with The Ghost of Tupelo Landing by Sheila Turnage. I am so excited for this one because, I mean, it's just such a cute cover. And I love the fact that this is like, it talks about historical ghosts, so it's kind of like going back in the past, and I think that's really fun and exciting. And it's just a cute cover, and so I thought that this would be a fun one. It's a rather thick book for middle grade, but it's gonna be great. There is an audiobook for this, so I do plan on listening to this one as an audiobook as well as reading, so doing the tandem read with it. And I'm pumped for this one. And then we have, I had to stretch this one a little bit. It's supposed to have book in the title, or boo in the title. So it's supposed to have B-O-O. It doesn't necessarily have to be in that order at all. And I did not have any whose titles actually had that. So I'm gonna go with Wretched Water Park by Kirsten White. And the only reason I'm going with that is because up at the top it says book 1. So I'm definitely stretching that one, but it's a thinner read, so I need some small books for this month as well, since it is such a huge TBR. But I think that this is such a fun, whimsical cover, and I'm ready to read this one. Plus we're about to get into summer, so I'm kind of like, ooh, let's get into the summer vibes. And then lastly, we have a TBR veteran, and so we are going to be doing Wait Till Helen Comes. This one has been sitting on my shelf for so long, and it is about time I read it, and I'm shocked that I haven't read it. I mean, it's tiny and I just have not read this yet. So we're gonna read Mary Downing Hahn. I'm not sure if that's how you say her last name, but we're gonna read her Wait Till Helen Comes, and I am excited for this one. I think it's gonna be just the right amount of spookiness, and it's a graphic novel. So I have actually never ever read a graphic novel. If you hear that noise, it's because our AC on a boat, that's what it sounds like. I've never read a graphic novel, so I'm excited to finally pick one up and to finally get into them and see if I actually like them or if I hate them. Now we're going to be getting into my big stack of books that are for the Escape the Readathon. These all have a specific prompt for them, and I just basically chose them because of what I was in the mood for. These are in no specific order, it's just how I happen to have them stacked up, just so y'all know. First we have what is the category called Hard Hitter, and that is my 5-star predictions. So I am going to be doing Scarlet by Marissa Meyer and also Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I believe that both of these books are going to be 5 stars because I love anything that is Brandon Sanderson. He has yet to do me wrong, and I love his books. And Cody absolutely loved Skyward, so I just have a feeling that I'm going to. Plus, I do know that he had picked this one for me for my TBR for this month, and so I knew I needed to try to get it back on there for him, even though I don't remember why he chose this, like what the prompt was that made him choose it. So we have this one, and then we have Scarlet, which I did read Crest this last month, and it actually goes for another video vlog that I'm going to be working on. That I have one for this last month but had to reshoot a lot of it because of my technical difficulties, so it goes along with a video from this last month. It'll all make sense later on, but just know I'm supposed to read this book, but I also believe it's going to be a 5-star. Next we have No Strings Attached, which is a friend recommendation, and I am going to be reading The Book Thief. I have never read The Book Thief, and I'm kind of shocked. I hear about it all the time, and whenever I asked my best friend Donna what book she thought that I needed to read, she said this, and then she went out and bought me a copy. So I was like, okay, well then I have to read this, and I am ready to read this, but man, she's a chunk. Like, Marcus has a lot of words, and I'm hoping that this is worth it, but I have a feeling it's going to be. if it is rated as highly as it is, then it's got to be a good book. So I'm excited to get into this one, and also a little hesitant because it is such a massive book and I have a very long list of books this month. Then we have Bullseye Battle, and I have, which is a new to you author, so new to me author, and I have After the Forest by Kel Woods. I have been wanting to read this since I bought it. If you saw one of my videos where I talked about getting this book and why I got it, because it's just a beautiful cover, I knew that I needed to try to get this on my TBR as soon as possible. So here it is. It is now on there. And some of these prompts where I'm only showing one, I'm actually probably going to end up having to have a second book, because what happens with this readathon is our team is trying to get to the next level, and we have to get a certain amount of points basically to move on, but we don't know how many that is, so we may end up having to read more books for that prompt. So I might end up having to read 2 books for this one. I don't know. Now we have Horsing Around, which is Intimidating Reads, and I did kind of cheat on this one because well, you'll see why. I chose 2 Kate Morton books. I chose The Secret Keeper and The Clockmaker's Daughter. I chose these because I had never read any of Kate's works until December of last year, and it was The Homecoming, and that was a book that was so hard for me to get into, but it was for a book club book, so I knew I wanted to try and push on and persevere, because I kept just pushing through and just saying, okay, well, now I can't quit because now I'm so far into this. And it turns out that I was right, and then in the end I was like, man, I'm so happy I read that. It was such a good book. But I have heard that Kate Morton writes like that a lot, so I'm very hesitant, because they are both big books, and if they are as full as the other one, I'm gonna probably struggle with this. But I was only doing the audiobook, so I'm hoping that maybe doing this a tandem style will really help me to actually engross myself more into the story, and then really grow and develop a love for that style of writing. So we're gonna be doing 2 Kate Mortons, and I may end up hating it and regretting my decisions. The next one is Unfair Will, which is the top of my TBR, and so of course I am naturally so excited for this one, because I was such a giddy person whenever we bought this book. This was, okay, let me explain what happened. We went to a bookstore, and Cody was like, okay, here is a challenge. He loves to give me challenges whenever we go to our bookstore, and I like that because it makes it different, and it makes me choose books that I wouldn't necessarily choose, or it makes me pick books that I'm like, oh, I actually really want this book, and not just mood shop, which I can also very much do. So he told me that I had to basically find a book that was a special edition of some sort, and it had to be, I believe he said it was like it had to be under $30 or something along those lines, which I ended up working it out because I had a coupon, so I was able to get it under $30 because it technically was not. But we got The Adventures of Amani Al-Sarafi, or Amina Al-Sarafi. I always want to call her Amani, and I don't know why. And it was a signed first edition, so I did get a special copy, and I could not stop smiling. And I was like that weirdo who was in the car with my book, just like hugging it and just like, I can't believe I own this now, because I've heard nothing but good things about this book, and like what a wild adventure this is. And I love the fact that we're following a mom who goes on an adventure. Like, hello, as a mom, that's exciting. So I love the idea of this book, and I cannot wait. I hope that this is one of the first books that I get to read, but it's all based off of which room we end up going into in this readathon. Then, as if I wasn't already excited enough, I have Good Fortune, which is my favorite genre. And if you can't figure out based off of the readathon that I'm going to be hosting at the end of May, called Mystery and Mayhem, then you may not know what my favorite genre is. My favorite genre has to be mystery, like hands down. Love it. I love if it's spooky mystery. I love cozy mystery. I love any of the style of mysteries that you can get me, but I particularly love funny and whimsical mystery. So this is one that I also have been sitting on since it came out, and that is Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. I loved the first book, and it was actually one of the books that really got me back into reading and realizing that there is such a difference in the books that I was reading growing up and then what they have to offer nowadays, and I just loved it. I know this is definitely specific people's cups of tea, but I am that specific person, and I will absolutely devour that tea because it is so good. And so I'm very excited to read this one, and I'm also hoping that this is at the top of our get to read list. And then also with that one, I'm going to be reading The Peculiar Incident of Shady Street. This one is one that I don't know anything about. It was just a cute middle school book, and I am just kind of in a middle school grade reading mood. And I think it's because March just had this lingering effect, because in March, if you don't know, there's usually a readathon that is middle school March, and it got me in that mood. But then also we're doing the Booktacular, which is all about middle school books, and so I'm all into that. I've been reading the Alcatraz Smedgery books, which is by Brandon Sanderson, and those are middle school. And I've been reading the Menagerie trilogy. I've been reading, what was the other one that I read? Wizard for Hire by Obert Sky. I've been reading that, so I'm just like very much in that era right now. And what does that say about me? I don't know, but I don't care. So I'm gonna pick this one up and read it. And it's also a smaller book, which again, I'm trying to get a couple of small books on here to give myself a little bit of grace, because this is a big TBR. We still have a couple more. Lastly, but not lastly, the last of the books that I have currently is Heads Up, which is a read before author. So I am going to be reading, hopefully, Legendary and Finale. Both of these are by Stephanie Garber. And I read Caraval this last month and absolutely adored it. Cody is currently reading it, and he's almost done with it, and he's like, babe, I don't understand how you have not just moved on to the next books. And I'm like, yeah, babe, me either, because I loved it so much, and I wanted to just instantly pick this book up and just start reading it. But the reality is that I still had other books I really needed to get through on my TBR, because I make a TBR so that I can challenge myself to get through it, and I did. But now I really want to read these, so these are both going to be on my TBR for this month, and I am excited. There are a couple of other prompts that are for the readathon that I do not have books for, because one is a poll pick, so that's going to have to do with what's on my Instagram, or if I use the Discord app that they have for the readathon to choose a book that way. And then I can't remember what the other one is. Oh, the other one was a video or a book that matches the host's video thumbnail, and honestly I just forgot to do that one. So here's the book I'll be reading for that, because I didn't do it yet, so there it is. And lastly, for my readathon, which of course I am very excited about, it is something that it's like my little brain baby, and I'm so proud of it, and I think it's going to be a super fun time. I have absolutely loved getting to know all the different people involved already, and I cannot wait to see how this actually turns out, and I hope that everybody has such a fun time. But if you've seen those videos, then you know that I have specific prompts, and the specific prompts get you specific amount of points. And so even though I am not on a team, because I am the creator and I want things to be as fair as possible, I will be reading to gain points for all of the teams. So that means within 1 week, I need to try and read at least 3 books, if not more, but each book will gain points, or I will have 1 book that will gain points for one team, 1 point for the other, and 1 book for the other. So for all of those, I will be doing all 3 of these. It is the Thursday Murder Club books by Richard Osman. I have been so excited to finally read these books, and I have also just been shocked at the fact that I got all 3 of these hardbacks at the most random place for incredible prices. Like, how are people already getting rid of these books? I think that they're like, these are treasures. What are you doing getting rid of them? So I will be reading all 3 of these, because these will be gaining points for my different teams. It is based off of color. It is based off of what's on the cover as well. So we have animals on here and animals on here, and we also have an animal on here. So that would, if I use one of these books for one of the groups, They'll get points based off the animals. I'll get points based off of what's inside of them. So I'm going to try to make these as fair as possible with my groups, so that way they all gain the same amount of points from me from reading. But I thought, why not read 3 mysteries that are from the same person who I'm so excited to dive into? So now we're going to read all 3 of them. If I happen to have more time, then I will probably add on other mysteries that I've been really looking forward to, like Veronica Speedwell. I have her first book and I still have yet to get into that. Or like Shady Hollow. I really want to get into that series as well, because it is just the cutest little cozy comfort little book. And then I also have this really cute one called Mr. and Mrs. Bunny. They're detectives, and I want to read that one too. So those are my other options. I don't know. We'll see if I have time for them. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you have not already, I ask that you will please like, comment, and subscribe. It definitely helps me with my channel. It helps me to grow my channel, and it just helps me to be able to create more content that I deeply enjoy creating. If you haven't checked out anything on my Mystery and Mayhem readathon, make sure you do that as well, because that will be coming up soon. I am so thankful for everybody who has spent any time with me. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye, guys.